What up, everybody? Power Law 42 says strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Now that Lorenzo is out of the picture, the Tejada family looks like it's soon going to be every man for themselves, with both Cain and Drew thinking they should be holding down the number one spot in the family. Monet is only adding fuel to the fire by telling both of them that they need to be the one to replace Lorenzo. First, she gave Cain the books and said he needs to take over handling the clean money in place of Lorenzo. Then when Drew was telling her about attacking the Russians, she told him that Lorenzo was wrong for choosing Cain over him and that he will be the one to take Lorenzo's place. However, each time she told both Cain and Drew to keep this between only them. I'm having trouble trying to figure out what Monet's end goal is here, and it doesn't seem like she even has one. This is one of her mistakes in killing Lorenzo that she didn't plan all the way until the end. She moved like a chess player, keeping her hands clean and establishing an alibi with her kids and getting Gordo to do the job. But her plan didn't go past Lorenzo being dead. She didn't think of the collateral damage this might cause within her family and the fuel it would add to the sibling rivalry between Cain and Drew. We have seen a father-son kill when Kanan killed Sean, and son-father kills with Tariq killing Ghost and Tommy killing Tony Teresi. But we haven't seen a sibling kill on Power yet, at least that I can remember off the top of my head. But Cain and Drew could end up being the first if this ends up getting messy. I understand that Cain's nickname, Cain, is a nickname short for Hurricane because he was a hyper little kid, and his real name is Lorenzo Jr. But this might also be an Easter egg. The first murderer in the Bible name was Cain, and he just happened to kill his own brother. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go this route eventually, but I don't think it will be immediate because the fact that Cain got close with Lorenzo before his death, and he said family first at his casket when he put his Jesus piece on. So I think Cain is going to try to be patient with Drew and overlook his foolishness, even though Drew is getting out of control. In the episode 7 trailer, we see Monet confronting Gordo and telling him to back off of her son. And Gordo replied he will not be backing off at all. Don't think that Monet is going to take this lying down and let Gordo blackmail her and tell her what to do like Cain did Lorenzo. Drew thinks he has taken out Lorenzo's killer already, but Cain is a few steps ahead of Drew right now, and he knows that the Russians didn't have anything to do with it. Cain is already looking in Monet's direction, so when he confronted her, she told him he always trying to add things up but can't even add 2 plus 2 without coming up with 5. Cain acted like this didn't even bother him, maybe because he knows he's not going to be able to do Monet like he did Lorenzo. Monet is much more ruthless than Lorenzo, and I don't think she would hesitate to kill Cain if he started pressing her. But now that Gordo has presented himself as an op, and he is obviously bringing the darker side out of Drew, I'll be expecting Monet to figure out a way to blame Gordo for Lorenzo's death and get Cain to kill him. Getting me back to his sibling rivalry. Right now, Cain and Drew are roommates at the penthouse, and they're partners in the drug business with Tariq and them. Drew started a war with the Russians that got Lorenzo's funeral shot up, and when Cain confronted him about his reckless decision to start a war with the Russians without any proof, Drew grabbed Lorenzo's Jesus piece and said, "You might be rocking Lorenzo's Jesus piece, but I'm holding down that number one spot." When Drew said this, Monet jumped in and said that Drew made the right call. Of course, allowing Drew to blame the Russians diverts all attention away from Monet from everyone except for Cain. One person to keep an eye out on that seems to be an instigator is Kai. Kai looks quite a bit younger than Lorenzo, so he must have come up under Lorenzo, and now he is a rival drug dealer and who the Tejadas initially tried to get product from before meeting Noma. When Lorenzo was still locked up is when he began to instigate the sibling rivalry. Lorenzo told Monet that Drew should be the one to take over the family business and not Cain, even though Monet felt that it should be Cain, and Drew obviously wasn't ready. Cain had spent his whole life being groomed by Monet for the position. Remember at one point when Monet rejected Cain, He said, "You made me this way, Ma." And when he beat the brakes off of Lil Guap, he told Monet, "Isn't that what you wanted me to do?" But Drew, like Monet told Lorenzo, has weaknesses that you don't know about. Drew was not in the streets the same way Kane was, and though he can defend himself better than Tariq, we saw that street dudes like Lil Guap had no respect for Drew, but would do whatever Kane says. And in the streets, there's no greater way to rule than by fear. Perfect example, Kane fears Monet but didn't fear Lorenzo. And look at the respect Kane still shows Monet, even though he pretty much knows she was involved in Lorenzo's death. She straight up told him, "What, you afraid I'm gonna kill you next because you kept all your father's secrets?" Getting me back to Drew's weaknesses. He hasn't been able to stay focused since we were introduced to his character, going all the way back to when Monet tasked Drew with following Tariq around Stansfield to learn how he does business. But instead, he met Everett. Drew would go running behind Everett time and time again, even at the beginning of episode 6, when everyone got the news about Lorenzo. Kane was playing poker, Diana was hooking up with Salim, and Drew was waiting next to his phone, waiting for Gordo to call him. When Lorenzo got out of jail, he only made things even worse by completely rejecting Kane and treating him like an outcast while keeping Drew by his side and letting it be known that Drew will be taking over the family business. Though Kane never accepted this, it stayed this way until he found out that Lorenzo killed Zeke. Then he blackmailed his way into the spot he deserved in the first place. And once Kane said he would keep Lorenzo's secret, Lorenzo didn't retract on his decision to leave Kane in charge. And Drew was very jealous of Lorenzo putting Kane in charge. Keep in mind, going back to season 1, before Lorenzo started all this confusion by sending Drew to handle Lil Guap instead of Kane, Drew was not sure if he even wanted to be a part of the life, and had no goal of taking over the family business at all. I think the right decision would have been to send Drew to art school and let Kane take over the family business. Then once Diana and Drew complete school, they could open up an art gallery as a whole new way for the family to clean money. We have seen Cartier Fareed doing this in Raising Kanan and Big L doing this in BMF. And since Drew is already an artist, this would be perfect for the Tejadas. But now Lorenzo is dead and there is nothing but confusion going on amongst the Tejadas. And on top of all this, they are the target of a RICO investigation and don't even know it yet. And there you have it, the Kane and Drew sibling rivalry. How do you think this is gonna pan out? Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.